Welcome to our comprehensive journey through the world of Peaky Blinders. Today we'll dive deep into every season of this extraordinary series, from the gritty streets of post-war Birmingham to the high-stakes arenas of international politics, and explain the enigmatic ending that has left so many viewers pondering. Sit back and let the story of the Shelby family and their notorious gang unfold before you. Our story begins in 1919, amidst the turbulent aftermath of World War I. In episode 1, we are introduced to Tommy Shelby, the cold, calculating leader of the Peaky Blinders. Fresh from the horrors of war, Tommy returns to Birmingham with a steely resolve to elevate his family's fortunes and power. In episode 2, the gang makes a daring play by stealing a shipment of guns, an act that sets in motion a series of events that will forever alter the balance of power in the city. With this theft, the Peaky Blinders catch the attention of Inspector Campbell, who is dispatched from London by none other than Winston Churchill himself. Further, we witness the strained relationship between Tommy and his older brother, Arthur Shelby. Meanwhile, Polly Gray, the matriarch of the Shelby clan, manages the family's finances with a firm yet caring hand. Alliances begin to form and shatter as external forces and internal betrayals complicate the gang's rise. Tommy's strategic mind is constantly at work as he navigates threats from rival gangs and the ever-watchful eyes of the law. His ambition is fueled by both personal vendettas and the dream of building a legacy that will outlast the chaos of post-war Britain. In episode 5, the stakes escalate when Tommy forges a risky alliance with the Italian mob. This connection, while promising significant rewards, also brings a new set of challenges. The gritty underbelly of Birmingham's criminal world is now intertwined with dangerous international elements, hinting at larger conspiracies and shifting loyalties. Finally, the season culminates in a dramatic climax. Tommy's calculated moves begin to pay off, yet every victory comes at a steep cost. The tension between his desire for power and the sacrifices demanded by his lifestyle becomes ever more pronounced. The season closes with unresolved conflicts and the unmistakable hint that the Peaky Blinders are just getting started. As we move into Season 2, the narrative expands and intensifies. The beginning of Season 2 sees Tommy setting his sights beyond the confines of Birmingham. With an eye on the capital, he begins to forge new alliances and confronts larger, more sophisticated criminal enterprises. In Episode 2, we see the return of Grace Burgess, whose complicated relationship with Tommy adds both warmth and tension to the narrative. Their reunion is fraught with unresolved feelings, secrets, and the constant pull between duty and desire. Grace's presence is a stark reminder that even in a world dominated by crime and violence, love and vulnerability persist. Arthur continues to wrestle with his inner demons. His explosive temper and struggles with PTSD create a turbulent undercurrent that threatens to destabilize the entire gang. Meanwhile, Polly's role evolves as she becomes more deeply involved in the strategic planning of the family's future. By episode 4, the Peaky Blinders are not just fighting local criminals, they're now entangled in a battle against the very fabric of the British establishment. Tommy's ambitions pit him against formidable adversaries, including the influential Sabini family and corrupt political figures. Tommy's carefully laid plans begin to unravel as betrayals from unexpected quarters come to light. The emotional toll of constant strife weighs heavily on him, revealing the vulnerabilities behind his steely exterior. His relentless pursuit of power begins to blur the line between justice and ruthlessness. Season 2 concludes on a note of both triumph and tragedy. Tommy manages to secure a decisive victory over his enemies, but not without paying a steep price. The final moments of the season leave us with a mix of awe and apprehension, wondering if Tommy's rise will continue, or if the forces aligned against him will ultimately prevail. Season 3 starts with Tommy marrying Grace, cementing a union that is as much about love as it is about strategic alliance. However, the happiness of their union is short-lived as the undercurrents of betrayal and ambition quickly re-emerge. Tommy's foray into high-stakes politics begins when he becomes entangled with Russian aristocrats and secret operatives. The allure of global power is intoxicating, yet it brings with it a labyrinth of conspiracies and deadly rivalries. As Tommy navigates this treacherous terrain, we see his character tested in ways that go far beyond the familiar streets of Birmingham. The Shelby family is drawn into a dangerous web of political corruption and espionage. In the shadowy corridors of power, alliances are fragile, and trust is a commodity in short supply. Arthur's struggles with his own identity and mental health are highlighted, exposing the raw pain of a man torn between loyalty to his brother and his own destructive impulses. Meanwhile, Polly finds herself increasingly isolated, forced to choose between her role as a guardian of the family and her own personal ambitions. Towards the end of the season, Tommy is faced with a moral dilemma that challenges everything he has built. His dealings with the Russians force him to confront the darker aspects of his ambition, where power is not just a tool, but a corrupting force that can lead to irrevocable ruin. The lines between friend and foe blur, and every decision seems to carry the weight of inevitable tragedy. As the dust settles on the latest power struggle, Tommy is left with a haunting realization: the empire he has built is as fragile as it is formidable. His alliances have been shattered, and the cost of ambition is paid in blood and betrayal. The season ends with Tommy standing at the crossroads of destiny, his future uncertain and his soul forever scarred by the choices he's made. Season 4 opens with the fallout from a vicious ambush orchestrated by the Italian Mafia. The mastermind behind this plot, Luca Changretta, emerges as a vengeful force determined to dismantle the Peaky Blinders once and for all. The atmosphere is charged with tension as Tommy and his family prepare for an all-out war. The Shelby family is hit hard by loss and betrayal, and the once unbreakable bonds of kinship begin to fray. Tommy is forced to confront not only the external threat posed by Changretta, but also the inner demons that have haunted him since the war. The Italian Mafia's relentless pursuit forces the Peaky Blinders to make desperate moves. Tommy's strategic acumen is tested like never before as he juggles alliances with dubious characters, maneuvers against the tides of betrayal, and tries to keep his family intact amidst the chaos. The brutality of the conflict intensifies as battles are fought on both physical and psychological fronts. Arthur, whose volatility has long been a double-edged sword for the Shelby family, becomes a symbol of the personal cost of this relentless war. His inner struggles mirror the external violence, and every clash takes him and the family closer to the brink of collapse. Tommy, ever the tactician, devises a plan that is as daring as it is ruthless. In a series of calculated moves, he manages to turn the tables on Changretta's forces. Yet, even as victory seems within reach, the cost of survival is painfully evident. Finally, Season 4 concludes with a dramatic and bittersweet resolution. Tommy's triumph over the Italian Mafia comes at a heavy price: loss and sacrifice. As the credits roll, viewers are left with the sobering realization that in the pursuit of power, redemption is a rare and elusive commodity. Season 5 introduces us to a changed political landscape. Set in the 1930s, the series now finds Tommy Shelby embroiled in the dangerous world of politics. Here, his longtime adversary, Oswald Mosley, emerges as a charismatic yet sinister force. Mosley's ascent is emblematic of the rising tide of fascism, and his influence begins to permeate every corner of British society. Tommy's involvement in the political arena forces him to reckon with the broader implications of his actions. No longer confined to the criminal underworld, he now finds himself grappling with ideologies that threaten the very fabric of society. The clash between old-world criminality and modern political extremism is stark, and Tommy's journey is marked by a growing sense of isolation. Episode 3 further explores these themes as Tommy is forced into increasingly complex and morally ambiguous situations. His dealings with both political figures and criminal masterminds reveal a man who is constantly negotiating the thin line between right and wrong. His ambition, which once seemed solely focused on personal gain, now takes on a more existential dimension. The struggle to maintain his identity in a rapidly changing world becomes the central focus of his character arc. The personal costs of his ambition begin to weigh heavily on Tommy, and his relationships with family and allies suffer. Arthur's struggle for stability, Polly's enduring strength, and even the enigmatic grace all serve as reminders of what Tommy stands to lose in his quest for power. The tension between familial loyalty and personal ambition reaches its apex, leaving the viewer to wonder if there is any way to salvage what remains of the Shelby legacy. As Tommy's mental and emotional state deteriorates, the facade of control he has so meticulously built starts to crumble. Paranoia, guilt, and the constant threat of betrayal take a profound toll on him. In a series of chilling scenes, we see him questioning the very nature of his existence and the meaning of the power he has so long pursued. Tommy, now more isolated than ever, stands at the crossroads of destiny. The forces of fascism, personified by Mosley, seem poised to reshape Britain, and Tommy is caught in the relentless tide of change. The season ends with a palpable sense of foreboding, a reminder that in the volatile world of Peaky Blinders, even the mightiest can fall. Before we dive into the final season, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you never miss our latest recaps and updates on your favorite shows. The final season opens with a somber tone. Tommy is a man at the end of his rope. The political landscape continues to darken with the growing threat of fascism, and the personal toll of decades spent navigating treacherous waters is evident in every line on his face. The once unbreakable Shelby empire now teeters on the brink of collapse, and the alliances that sustained it are crumbling. Polly, having borne the weight of countless burdens, faces a heartbreaking loss that further underscores the tragic cost of their chosen path. With the ghosts of his past haunting him and the relentless pressure of his enemies closing in, Tommy begins to confront the consequences of his actions. Every decision, every fleeting moment of weakness is magnified by the knowledge that the future of Britain and his soul hang in the balance. The political intrigue and criminal warfare collide as Tommy's plans to dismantle fascist influences come into conflict with his long-standing criminal methods. The dichotomy of his existence, between the ruthless gangster he once was and the man seeking a semblance of redemption, plays out in a series of intense confrontations and heart-wrenching decisions. With enemies closing in from every side, Tommy is forced to make choices that will irrevocably alter the course of his life and that of his family. His genius for strategy is on full display as he orchestrates a series of maneuvers designed to outwit both political adversaries and criminal foes. Yet with each step forward, the burden of past mistakes grows heavier, casting a long shadow over his every action. In a sequence that is as unexpected as it is inevitable, Tommy Shelby makes the ultimate decision. Standing on the precipice of his former empire, he chooses to walk away from the life of violence and power that has defined him for so long. In a quiet, reflective moment, Tommy contemplates the cost of his ambitions, the shattered relationships, the loss of innocence, and the ghost of every decision made along the way. The final scene leaves us with a powerful image. Tommy gazing out over a city that once trembled at his command, now a symbol of both his rise and his fall. At its core, the ending of Peaky Blinders is an exploration of redemption versus legacy. Tommy, who has spent years carving out an empire built on violence, betrayal, and sacrifice, finally confronts the true cost of his choices. The series' final moments are not filled with the triumphant fanfare of a victorious criminal overlord, but rather with a reflective, almost haunting realization of what it means to pay for power. In the climactic final episode, Tommy faces a moment of truth. After decades of manipulation, strategic brilliance, and brutal decisiveness, he stands at a crossroads. The scenes are deliberately understated, a quiet, reflective pause amid the chaos of his turbulent life. It is here that Tommy appears to make a monumental decision. He steps away from the life he's built, leaving behind the empire of the Peaky Blinders in search of a semblance of redemption. This ending invites us to ask, has Tommy finally found redemption, or is he simply embracing a different kind of power? A power defined by regret and introspection rather than ruthless ambition. Tommy's journey from a war-hardened soldier to a cunning crime lord, and finally to a man seemingly ready to walk away, is a mirror of our own struggles with ambition, guilt, and the hope for transformation. In these final scenes, the series reminds us that every empire, no matter how formidable, must eventually face its reckoning. Tommy's decision to step away is a bittersweet acknowledgement that sometimes the greatest act of strength is knowing when to let go. It challenges us to consider whether true redemption lies in clinging to power or in finding the courage to walk away and face the consequences of our actions. What do you think about this ending? Leave a comment down below.